Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Pam and I make videos around mental health, trauma and recovery. I know it's been a while since I last posted a video, but I've got some time back now, so I'm hoping to be posting more within the next few weeks. So as you can tell by the title of today's video, I'm hoping to share with you 7 reasons to consider therapy. And the reason why I wanted to do this video is because I've met a couple of people over the years who have wanted to get therapy or have thought about getting therapy, but they haven't. For various different reasons, sometimes simply because they've grown up in a household where they're told that what happens in a family stays in the family, and these beliefs have been ingrained in them so much that going to therapy to get help with the abuse or the adversity or the issues that they're going through feels like they're betraying their family values. You know, people from certain cultures whereby, again, therapy is almost frowned upon. Going into therapy and talking to somebody about your problems is perceived as weakness. And it's so sad when I come across people who have grown up in certain cultures that promote sort of these type of beliefs, because we all need somebody to talk to. I think going to therapy is actually a sign of strength and not weakness. To be able to call somebody up and say, hey, I'm struggling, help me. You know, to be able to bypass all these cultural beliefs, which most of the time doesn't even make sense. You know, to then say, I need help with this issue, I've tried everything and I need help. I think that it's huge. That shows huge signs of bravery. So yeah, I just wanted to do this video to, like I said, encourage people who are considering therapy but perhaps have those nagging voices in their heads telling them not to. So yeah, these are 7 reasons to consider therapy. The first reason, I've got some notes as well, so I'll be looking down as I speak. The first reason to consider therapy is that it offers you a sacred space. And this is very important because life gets very busy. Just busyness of work, of life, of family life, of doing so many different things, right? And we rarely get time to sit down to reflect. You know, literally from the moment you get up, your mind is constantly on the go. If you've got a young family, children, work, you're constantly on the go. You may be able to stop for some lunch and dinner, but most of the time you're knackered when you get back. You want to go back to bed. We rarely get spaces where you get to just sit and reflect on your thoughts, right? And we get billions of thoughts every single day. We get billions of ideas flowing through our mind. Some are passing by, some stay with us for a while. We don't get a chance to actually stop, reflect on them, question them, challenge them, you know, probe a bit more to see what these thoughts mean. Where are they coming from? What do they mean? How does it impact me, my behaviors? We don't get that. But for the 50-minute session of therapy that you may have with a therapist, all the distractions are away. There are no phones, there is no TV, there's nobody else in the room. It's simply about human connection. And I think that is such a great thing, and it actually heals so many parts of us. I don't think we've realized how much healing comes from healthy human connection, because we live in a society whereby that's pretty much gone out the window. Community's gone out the window. It's about me, myself and I. It's about social media, it's about success, all the things. But we undervalue how healing simple human connection, healthy human connection can be. Just to sit there with somebody, looking at them, probing every thought in detail, showing you empathy, compassion. These things alone can bring validation. These things alone can heal so many different parts of you. So yeah, I'll definitely say having a sacred space is one of the key reasons to consider therapy. Remove the distractions just for 50 minutes once a week. It can do wonders for you. So yeah, that's my first point. The second point is that therapy can offer you new perspective. And once again, this goes back to the thoughts that run through our mind. So many different thoughts run through our mind daily. You know, billions, hundreds of thoughts. And often at times, some of these thoughts are influenced by our families, by our culture, you know, the culture within the family that we grow up in, the beliefs, the values that we're raised with, right? And if you're raised in a certain family dynamic, until you see different, that's all you know and that's all you believe to be true, right? Some of us grow up, maybe go to uni, make friends, listen to how their family dynamics are, and you think, wait a minute, mine was a bit different. That's probably, or even children when they start school, often primary school is where they get a sense that, oh, things are different in different families. Oh, my daddy does this, my mommy does this, but my friend's daddy or mommy doesn't do that, right? So therapy, going into therapy and speaking with with a therapist helps you, again, develop new perspectives. So it's sometimes going to therapy helps you challenge some of those family values, particularly the ones that are not great, or certain self-beliefs that you've had about yourself for a while, whether it's self-inflicted or not. Being in therapy with somebody who hasn't got no history or family background, they didn't grow up in that same environment, they grew up in a completely different environment, listening to you can often pick out certain things that they may say to you, wait, hold on a minute, where did this thought come from? Where does this belief? I'm just wondering, why do you believe this about yourself? I'm just wondering, when was the first time you noticed this thinking pattern? So they can often challenge these thoughts, offer you new perspective to help you have much more balanced thoughts about yourself, or whatever the situation you bring into therapy may be. So that's the second reason to consider therapy. The third reason to consider therapy is that it can often, the relationship that you develop with your therapist, if it's a good one, can often act as a blueprint of how your future relationships can be, right? When you're in that room with your therapist and you have those, and I consider, and I've said this in some of my videos before, I think, like, for me, training to be a counselor and somebody who's hoping to be a future therapist, I find it to be such a privilege, right? Because often at times when you meet clients, you've never met them before. And in the first session, they're sat in the room and they're sharing with you intimate details about their lives that often they haven't even admitted to their loved ones, to their partners, to themselves, right? And they open up to me because I'm a therapist. That's such a privilege. Like, so if you're fortunate enough to have a good, healthy relationship with your therapist, whereby there is emotional intelligence, whereby you can speak your truth without judgment, right? I think that's a key thing here. Without judgment, without somebody challenging, without somebody telling you you're wrong. And of course, therapists can use skills such as immediacy and so many different things to address, problem issues. But to have that relationship where it's healthy, that element of judgment is removed. You're allowed to express yourself freely. You're allowed to, laugh and be yourself and share sadness without judgment and cry without judgment and all these things. I think often at times it can be a great way to develop a blueprint of how you want your future friendships to look like, future relationships to look like, how you want other relationships in your life, the boundaries that you create with your therapist, all these things. This is literally giving you a blueprint of what healthy relationships should look like, provided is a good therapist, of course, to help you have something, a guide, to guide you towards your future relationships moving forward. So that's a third reason to consider therapy. A fourth reason is that therapy can often help you point out your blind spots. Some of you watching this may have heard of Johari's window, which is essentially a theory that talks about 4 different aspects of self. It talks about the self that you are aware of and everybody's aware of. So this is aspect of yourself that you know about and other people know about. So maybe the aspect of yourself may be that you think that you're a very funny person and everybody else around you agrees with it. Yeah, this is a side of yourself that is known to you. And then there's another side of yourself that is known to you but unknown to others. So perhaps this is around more of the intimate things and emotional things, or perhaps some of the experiences that you've gone through and aspects of self, your values, your principles that are only known to you, but other people are not aware of it. And maybe they're not aware of it because you don't trust them yet, or you don't have that certain level of intimacy to share those parts of yourself. So there is the known self, which I described earlier on. There is the unknown self, which is side of you that you know about but other people don't know about. There's another side of you that other people know about that you don't know about yourself. So you often get parts like this maybe when you're in relationships, right? Or when you have children later on and your partner and children see you in a light that perhaps you don't know. Maybe you don't know that you struggle with expressing your emotions. Maybe that's something that you've just never been aware of. But the moment you get into relationships, your husband is now telling you, oh, babe, I've just noticed that you're not very forthcoming with how you feel. And so this is aspects of yourself that are known to others, but not known to you. And then the final part is the part of yourself that is not known to you and not even known to other people. This is often known as the blind spot. So you're blinded to these aspects of yourself and others are also blinded. And obviously with time, these are also unconscious things. It can be revealed and things like that. So when I talk about the fourth point being that therapy can often help you highlight or, know what blind spots are. I'm referring to the parts of yourself that you don't know about and the therapist doesn't know about. But when you come together and you work together, you can often reveal these elements of yourself, work on them, get to know them. And of course, there's the other side that the therapist may recognize, but you don't recognize. So again, they can help you bring all these elements of yourself that is unknown to you to the room. You can work with them, get to know these parts, explore these parts, and really the goal of it is more around self-awareness, is to help you develop self-awareness. And I think that's such a great skill to have, to know about yourself, know who you are from different angles, different aspects. I think that's just is a game changer. So the key of it is to develop self-awareness. So that's the fourth point. The fifth point about why you should consider therapy is to give your loved ones a break. So for those of you who perhaps maybe you're in a relationship, or you've got certain friendships that you share so many different things with, and people are often so kind and they may never let you know how burdened they feel by how the problems that you're facing, but some people do. Some friends feel burdened by the things that you share with them. Maybe they just don't have the capacity to hold what you share. Some partners, boyfriends, wives, girlfriends, they may not say that, oh gosh, I feel very burdened and I don't know how to help you, I don't feel like I know. They may not say it because they want to be supportive and out of politeness and out of the titles that they hold in your life. But going into therapy takes that burden off people, because this person is for you. They're trained to hold problems. They're trained to hold the things that you bring into therapy. They're trained to hold the things that burdened you. So going into therapy also sometimes gives relief to your loved ones, especially those who may not necessarily know how to handle some of the issues that you may share with them. So that's the fifth reason to consider therapy. The sixth reason to consider therapy is to have the opportunity to test out the waters. And what I mean by this is that, for example, you've talked about boundaries maybe in therapy, and now you need to implement it, but you don't quite know how to do it, right? Because you don't know how people who you want to put the boundary in place would react to it. Therapy is a great way to test the waters, right? Your therapist can take on that role. You get into role play. Some models of therapy like Gestalt, encourages things like role play, the empty chair, things like that. You take on certain roles and you practice. Okay, if I go to my dad's next week and he starts talking about this again, this is what I'm going to say to him. All right, the therapist may say to you, all right, let's try this out. I'm going to be your dad. You share with me how you're going to communicate your boundaries with him. So you get an opportunity to test the waters before you take it out into the real world. Tweak things, make changes, make adjustments, figure it out in the room, and then you take it into the real world. Not many things offer you that opportunity to test out water. So I think that's one of the fantastic reasons why you should consider therapy. And the seventh and final reason is that therapy offers you an independent relationship outside of everything else. What I mean by independent is that often at times you don't know your therapist when you first meet them. So they don't know about your history, they don't know about your background, they don't know about anything, they don't know anything about you. So they're seeing you without that lens of judgment. They're seeing you without any clouded views. Of course, there is that whole transference and counter transference and all the rest of it, but again, I'm talking about an independent relationship. They don't know that you did this with your ex and your ex did this, so they're not talking to you or understanding you or coming and approaching you with a whole heap of history that can influence the questions that they ask you, or the way that the therapy is shaped and the narratives. That they don't have all that background, right? But friends have that background, family members have that background. You could be trying to put in boundaries with your family members and they may laugh at you because they're like, this person is a joke. Don't try and do boundaries here. We know who you are. We know you can't do that, because they have a history of perhaps certain behavior patterns that you've had or how you've struggled with it. But a therapist doesn't have all that knowledge about you. So they're independent out of everything, and they're coming in again with those fresh eyes. They're coming in without judgment. They're coming in without your history. So these things don't interfere the sessions. They don't interfere the relationship. They don't interfere how the issues are handled moving forward. So far we've talked about 7 things. The first one is that it offers you a sacred space. The second thing is that it offers you a new perspective. The third thing is that it offers you a blueprint. The fourth point is that it allows you to highlight your blind spot. It highlights your blind spots and the unknown aspects of self. The fifth thing is that it can give relief to your family members, your friends. The sixth thing is that it allows you to test the waters without judgment before you take things out into the real world. And the seventh thing is that it's an independent relationship outside of everything else. So these are my 7 reasons to consider therapy. So like I mentioned, this video is really out there for people who have thought about it. Maybe you want to get therapy, but you're questioning, can I do this? Should I do this? What's the purpose of it? I hope these 7 reasons give you the nudge that you need to talk to somebody and get the help, and at least find one of these things that I've shared, enough to encourage you to take that next step. So yeah, thank you guys so much. I just thought to do this video, like I said, just to encourage anybody out there who is thinking about it but is unsure yet. So if you like this video, stick around, and yeah, please like this video, subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to check out some of my previous videos and some of my upcoming videos. Thank you guys so much for your time, and I'll see you in my next video. Take care. Bye.